What's up, guys? Lance LeBrun coming to you once again from SRL. Season 8, Round 7 here at the Netherlands Zandvoort Circuit, where we get ready to kick off an 18-minute short qualifying session, followed by a 50% race coming off an exciting Round 6 at Abu Dhabi last week, where we saw Logan Aron take his 5th pole position of the season, followed by a win. Backing him up in second place was Tim Ventic, picking up his 4th podium of the season. Aleski picking up his 4th podium as he came home 3rd. Luke Smith finished 4th. Nicolo Falzaresi finished in the 5th position. Juan Vasquez was 6th. Nick Van Gelder 7th. Sandro Dulius, disappointing race for him as he finished 8th. Max Mulder was up and down all day. Had an incident with Gabriel Guillermo, who we'll talk about in a minute. He finishes 9th. And Vincenzo Torri, after having back-to-back podium finishes, ended up finishing 10th. Rounding out your top 10 points paying positions, newcomer Gabriel Primerano finished on the 11th spot. Robin Herderstegen was 12th. Cameron Weston Edwards, disappointing run for him as he finished 13th. 14th through 20th were all DNFs at Abu Dhabi last week. Guillermo Garcia picking up a DNF. Jesper Lempinen with his 2nd DNF of the season. Senna Hayware with his 3rd DNF of the season. Ivan Brito with his 2nd DNF of the season. Newcomer Eric Holm unfortunately crashed out, finishing 18th after he had a great qualifying effort where he started 10th. Dion Stahl, who joined me in the booth last week as a driver analyst after his crash, credited with 19th, and Brian Power was 20th. Speaking of which, we have some penalties to be served, unfortunately, and that is going to be one of them is Guillermo Garcia. After having a 3-race ban for an incident back in Australia, he came back, and unfortunately aggressive driving, causing a collision and crashing out Max Mulder, as he's going to serve another race ban for passing the penalty point system. So he will be out of today's race. Senna Hayware will be serving a race ban as well for causing a collision and for driving standards. He has been less than subpar so far this season. And there's a qualifying ban for Max Mulder purposely crashing his car over the finish line at the end of the race. That is frowned upon. We do not do that here at SRL. So he will be serving a qualifying ban today, and we are going to run down the driver lineup for today. Sandro Dulius is going to be starting once again in the Ferrari. Aleski and Jesper Lempinen in the AlphaTauris. Tim Ventic in the Haas. Brian Power in the Williams. Max Mulder in the Mercedes. Luke Smith be joining us once again from Australia, starting in the Aston Martin. Vincenzo in the Alfa Romeo. Robin Herderstegen in the McLaren. Logan Aron, your championship points leader, is going to be in the Haas. And Jensen Randall, making a comeback here into SRL, will be in the Mercedes AMG Petronas, of course. Jensen Hamilton here to ruin everybody's good time. He'll be starting at the rear of the field. Jurmo Rusic, who was going to participate earlier this year on the PC, and then we had the test runs for the cross-platform gameplay, and we decided to stick with PlayStation instead of cross-platform. So he has gone out and gotten F1 2022 on the PS5. He will be running today in the Red Bull. Dion Stahl will be in the Ferrari. Nick Van Gelder in the Red Bull, so good to have Nick back with his teammate Yor. Cameron Weston Edwards in the McLaren. And then Nicolo Falzaresi in the Alfa Romeo. That rounds out your driver for today. Not sure if we're waiting on anybody else or not. And we've got Whippo Film. Don't know who that is on the live chat, but good day to him as well. And it would appear Senna Hayware is going to join the lobby to spectate, as he will be serving a race ban today. So after 6 rounds, as we head into round 7, the top 3 drivers have started to separate themselves from the rest of the pack. Logan Aron is your championship points feeder. The American from Pennsylvania leads the pack with 112 points. Out in front of Aleski, who is behind him with 85, and Tim Ventic in the Haas at 76. Those are your big three. Vincenzo Torri, coincidentally, is fourth in the points, down in 55 points, in fourth position after his back-to-back podiums. Unfortunately, that did not continue to happen as he finished 10th last round. And Sandro Dulius, who was an early favorite a couple of rounds ago, he has now fallen back into the 5th position in the point standings. So it looks like we're getting ready to start here, which is, again, going to be an 18-minute short qualifying session, followed by a 50% race. We have Felix on the live chat as well. Good to hear from him. Always appreciate people in the live chat, fans in the stands, as we get ready to go race here in the Netherlands. So once again, Logan Arond, 5 pole positions so far this season out of 6 rounds. The only other driver to have gotten a pole was Nicolo Falzaresi back at round 5 at San Marino at the Imola circuit. And again, Nicolo Falzaresi, he's got fans in the stands. Somebody on the live chat already cheering for him. So we get ready to kick off the 18-minute short qualifying session. We'll see if Nicolo or anybody else can stop the reign of terror that is Logan Arond as he looks for his 6th pole position of the season. And again, we will be without Senna Hayweir and Guillermo Garcia as they both serve race bans. Max Mulder will be serving a qualifying ban. And Jensen Randall making his return to SRL, going to be a reserve driver. And it looks like the rain is showing its ugly face here at Zandvoort. So this should make for an interesting qualifying session. The great equalizer presenting itself. We'll see who's a wet weather driver and who's a race car driver. So this will be interesting. Guys may have not banked on this. Have to make a quick wet setup. So Jensen's going to start at the back. Luke Smith generally does not qualify. I don't know if wet weather will change his mind about that at all. Luke Smith usually starts from the back, works his way to the front. So we see one of the cars leaving the pits. Looks like that's one of the AlphaTauris. And it looks like that was Oleski. So we'll pick up Oleski since he'll be the first one to start a timed lap. And looks like he's out on the intermediates. Probably get a little bit of a lay of the land, see if intermediates are going to be the right choice of tire, or if he's going to have to come back in and switch to the full wets. You do see the tire tracks here in the wet. Right on board with him to see what it's like. Now this should certainly be interesting here down in Sector 3 with the banked curve heading back out onto the front straightaway. See if Oleski stays out. And he's going to go for it. We'll ride along with him as he starts his first timed lap of the session. And in these treacherous conditions, this is going to be one of those instances where slow and steady wins the race. We've already got a yellow flag in Sector 3, and that's somebody on an out lap. And Jensen has retired from the session, but we kind of knew that. He was going to start at the rear of the field, but I don't know if that was the deal that he made in order to come back and join. Jensen Randall, multiple SRL record holder for race wins, championships, points in a season, podium finishes, fastest laps. Why we call him Jensen Hamilton. Of course, he drives a Mercedes because he likes to be a party pooper. As you can tell, I'm not thrilled by Jensen's return, and that's just because I got tired of seeing him win. Not taking anything away from Jensen's ability to drive a race car and continue to ride along with Oleski. He's had a couple of moments throughout the course of this lap, but... Ooh, and he's going to run wide. Almost puts it up into the wall. Down the front straightaway, he's going to set the first time lap at a 125. We'll pick up Jo Marusic on his first comeback here to SRL for this season. He's currently in Sector 2 in the Red Bull. Jo Marusic, good to have him back. Tim Ventic, 123, and then a Logan Aron with a 119.1, so he is 1.1 seconds faster than Tim Ventic. So the big three have set the three top times as we continue to watch Jo Marusic on his return to SRL Racing. Good to see him back on track in the Red Bull. Yours never really set the world on fire, but he's always been a very solid driver. Stays out of trouble for the most part. He's going to come across the line 122.379. Good enough for fourth quickest so far. We'll pick up... You see Robin Herderstagen heading into the pits. We'll pick up Dion Stahl in the Ferrari. Dion crashed out last week. As we see Brian Power come across the line, 122.862. Good enough for fifth so far. Dion was our driver analyst last week as he joined me in the booth after his crash as we continue to see times come in. Looks like Vincenzo Torri's gone fourth quickest with a 126.19. Luke Smith is retired from the session. Nothing new there. He's going to start from the back of the field as he usually does. And we continue to watch Dion Stahl on his first flying lap as he's coming around the NASCAR style turn now as he heads out onto the front straightaway. Runs a little wide, and we see Oleski has retired from the session. So not sure if Oleski has crashed out or retired, but Dion Stahl comes across the line 121.523. And from there, we're going to pick up Cameron Weston Edwards. Disappointing run for him last time out as he finished in the 13th position. Did get a little wild at the end as he was trying to make a fastest lap and lost control of the car. Cut across the track at one point, almost took out another driver, then ended up coming across the line in the 13th position. It was a very eventful race for him at the end. So Oleski's retired from the race, from the and Cameron Weston Edwards has to abandon that lap as he lost the back end. So he'll still set his time. He'll use that as a banker lap, 125.203. I know he can do better than that as we see Jesper Lempinen has come across the line with a 125.719. We're going to go pick up Max Mulder. Looks like he's invalidated his lap time, so he'll be having to come around and do it again. Check out Robin Herderstagen. This is not Robin. There we go. So Robin Herderstagen on his first flyers. He's coming through Sector 1. See if he can put a time on the board. We saw Cameron Weston Edwards had his moment at the NASCAR turn at the end of Sector 3. And Oleski, I'm kind of surprised Oleski is out. I'm not sure if Oleski crashed out or if he just decided to retire because he didn't think he could do any better on time. He's going to be locked in at that 125.05. And again, not sure if he doesn't think he can do any better than that or if the conditions are starting to worsen. If drivers are going to have to switch over to full wets, obviously they're going to be a bit slower. Oh, all the way up against the wall. The car really just wants to wash out towards the latter part of that corner. He's going to come across the line with a 122.241. That's good enough for 11th so far. And Sandro Dulius has gone 119.759. That's good enough for second. 0.6 of a second off of Logan Aron's time. That's going to push Oleski down to 5th. We'll pick up Max Mulder, who has yet to set a time. It looks like he is off track. And it looks like Jeremy Pope has joined the session, so the American Jeremy Pope will be joining us for the race. Maybe not qualifying. Not sure what Max is doing here. Max is off course. Not sure if he's got an issue with the car. As he continues to off-road, takes out the 150 braking marker sign. So we will go pick up Tim Ventic as he's coming around the final corner. He's going to get a little bit of a slipstream off of the McLaren. Comes across the line, 119.374. Just caught him at enough time. Runs purple in Sector 3. Takes second spot away from Sandro Dulius, and now he's within 0.2 of striking distance for that pole position from Logan Aron. So the two Haas's out in front. Eight minutes left to play in the session. Does anybody have anything for Logan Aron? Pick up Dion Stahl. Currently 8th quickest. Getting a little advantageous with those curbs. Generally, the curbs are a little bit more slick than the rest of the track, so. But Dion also trying to use as much of the track as possible. Short straightaway, out onto NASCAR turn. Caution flags wave in Sector 2 and 3. Good run coming out of that corner. Gets a good run down the straightaway. And he does improve his time. 122.71. Bumps himself into 5th. Knocks Oleski down into the 6th position. Great qualifying effort by Dion Stahl on that one. You see Jesper Lempinen is out on an out. That will pick up Nicolo Falzarezzi. We haven't necessarily watched him yet as he comes around NASCAR turn onto the front straightaway. 129.16. That is his time. He's going to try and improve that. Falzarezzi has shown flashes of speed this year. There's a car backwards, and it looks like that might have been Max Mulder in the Mercedes. So Max struggling mightily here in the qualifying session. Riding along with Falzarezzi, gets a little too much of the curb, loses the back end a little bit, trying to stay with it, get that power down. I mean, he's certainly not going to get pole position on this lap, but can he improve his time of the 129.16? He's shown flashes of speed throughout the course of this year. Hasn't been able to put together a complete race just yet. But he's had some halfway decent runs, shown some speed. Gets a little too much of that curb, gets a little too much of the curb on the outside. Oh, and he hits the wall. The front end just wants to wash out towards the latter part of that corner. He is going to go 121.61 though. Improves his time up to the 4th position. Knocks Oleski down into the 7th position. From there, we can pick up Vincenzo Torri. That is his teammate. Vincenzo had back-to-back podium positions a couple of races ago, finishing third place at San Marino in round 5, and then finishing in third at the Circuit of the Americas, where he had a great run, fought for the lead of the race at one point. Unfortunately, 10th last week, but still able to put a point on the board, and with those podium positions, moved himself into 4th in the points. Vincenzo turning out to be a very solid driver this year. We ride along with him. Looks like he's almost 2/10 up on his previous time. That could potentially put him into the 4th position, knocking his teammate down a notch. It's all going to depend on this corner right here. The front end just wants to start to wash out right here, right up towards the wall. And he does it. 119.946. He's the 4th driver to break into the 119s. Knocks his teammate down into the 5th position. And that's going to push Oleski now down into 8th. Pick up Sandro. Sandro, I believe. Sandro's on an out lap. Tim Ventic. Tim Ventic is on an out lap. So we'll go back to Sandro. Sandro is going to start a hot lap. 3 minutes left to play in the session. Does anybody have anything for Logan or Ron? Conditions, I wouldn't say have gotten any worse, but they certainly haven't gotten any better. Cars are still lapping around the same times that they were before. Everybody's still out on the intermediates. Sandro running almost a little wide at that corner, but looking very, very smooth throughout the course of this lap so far. Trying to stay off of the curbs as much as possible, get the car straightened out as early as possible, get the power down. He's coming up on a yellow flag here in Sector 3. NASCAR corner. Whoa, and he loses the back end. Manages to save it. He was getting greedy with the throttle. He wanted to try and stay in it. He had a good line. So he will try that again. In the meantime, we're going to pick up Tim Ventic. And Tim Ventic has gone 1:18.9, 0.2 of a second quicker than Logan Aron. Snatches the provisional pole away from Logan. And we're going to pick Logan up. Logan is coming around. He's going to start a hot lap now. And this is going to be it. A last-ditch effort from Logan Aron to try and take back the pole position. 1 minute left to play in the session. Caution flag flies in Sector 2. Logan's car's looking a little twitchy. Looks like he's a little off the pace here heading through that bank corner. And I see we have somebody else on the live chat rooting for Vincenzo. So Team Alfa Romeo's got a few fans cheering for them as we continue to ride along with Logan Aron, trying to take back that pole position that he just lost to Tim Ventic, his teammate. Oh, and you hear him trying to get that power down, just drags the wheels. Logan is... Part of the reason why Logan is so fast is because he is so hard on the throttle, but there's just some times where finesse and ease will benefit you, and this is one of those times as he's trying to get that power down. Heading through NASCAR, this is where we saw Sandro lose the back end of his car. A great line there from Logan as he comes down the front straightaway, and a 1:18.614. Logan Aron snatches back the pole position at the last possible moment. Will pick up Sandro Dulius. He's 0.3 of a second up on his previous time. That would not be able to improve his position, but it would secure his position. Nicolo Falzaresi's locked in at a 1:19.802. Jesper Lempinen has retired from the session. He's locked in at 1:19.975. This is where we saw Sandro lose it a lap ago. He's got a good line coming out of that corner. Power down. He's going to come across the line. 1:19.270. Locks him in the third position. Half a second quicker than his previous time. Good on him. We'll pick up Dion Stahl. Where is Dion? Oh, we see Nick Van Gelder come across the line. He'll be locked in 1:23.10. Dion Stahl is around at the NASCAR turn. So it looks like he is not going to improve his time. And that is actually going to do it for qualifying. So Tim Ventic gave it a go, was the first driver to crack into the 1:18s with a 1:18.900. Logan Aron snatches back the pole position, picking up his sixth pole of the season with a 1:18.614. And Felix saying that the 1:17s would have been reachable had the conditions gotten better and had the time continued. But on the 18-minute short qualifying session, we're going to be locked in at 1:18s. But Felix might be right on the live chat. If we were doing a longer qualifying session, looks like the track was finally starting to heat up a little bit. So Sandro Dulius trying to make up for a disappointing race last week. He'll be starting in the third position. A great qualifying effort for him at the end. So Logan Aron, your pole sitter, followed by his teammate Tim Ventic. Sandro Dulius will be starting in third. Nicolo Falzaresi will be starting in fourth. Vincenzo in fifth. Jesper Lempinen in sixth. Dion Stahl seventh. Nick Van Gelder is eighth. Oleski drops all the way down to ninth. Cameron Weston Edwards, we didn't get to see it, but a good qualifying effort for him as he gets to start in the 10th position. Jo Marusic on his SRL comeback will be starting in 11th. Brian Power 12th. Robin Herterstegen is 13th. Those are the 13 drivers out of the 17 that did start, that did set a time. 14th through 17th, we'll talk about those guys in a minute, as we saw Jeremy Pope was able to join the session, but not able to put in a lap. So now that the 18-minute qualifying session is done, we'll get ready to do a 50% race. And we will run down that running order once again here on the formation lap, see if the weather has improved for today's race. Well, it is still raining, but the skies seem a little lighter than they did in qualifying. Perhaps the rain will ease up, go away. Perhaps we'll have a changeover to dry weather, and that should make things extremely interesting. So we'll wait for the game to reset itself, get the grid set. We'll do the formation lap. So Logan Aron starting on pole for the 6th time this season. He'll be followed by his teammate Tim Ventic in second. Sandro Dulius be starting in third. Nicolo Falzaresi will be starting in the 4th position. Vincenzo Torri will be starting in 5th. Jesper Lempinen didn't look good at the beginning, but ended up coming home 6th for qualifying. Dion Stahl with a good effort starting in the 7th spot. Nick Van Gelder will be starting in 8th. And Oleski, who retired earlier on in the session. When he retired, he was 5th quickest. He drops all the way down to 9th quickest. Cameron Wesson-Edwards will be starting in the 9th. And it looks like, according to the predicted stop strategy, it's going to be rain all the way through. Joel Marusic on his SRL return will be starting in the 11th spot, followed by Brian Power in the Williams. Robin Hertestegen will be in the 13th spot. And then 14th will be Jeremy Pope. He did not set a time. He was able to join late for the qualifying session, but not able to start a time. Jensen Randall making his SRL return as a reserve driver, even though he's still in the same old Mercedes. Starting in the 15th spot, Max Mulder struggled once again in qualifying. He's been very hit and miss this year when it comes to qualifying and racing. He'll be starting in the 16th position as he struggled with the car. And then Luke Smith, not used to seeing him in the Aston Martin, but he'll be in 17th. He never sets a time, and I don't know if that was my internet or if Luke lost the car, but he'll be starting in 17th. Likes to work his way from the back to the front. And it looks like that is Max Mulder behind Luke Smith here on the formation lap. So this happened a few rounds ago at the Circuit of the Americas. Round 4, Max Mulder could not come to grips with the car in qualifying. Had a poor setup for the race. Ended up retiring. So hopefully that is not the case today with Mulder. But so far it is not looking good for him as we wait for him to bring up the rear. So it's going to be a 36-lap shootout here at Zandvoort. Very short, fast, narrow track. Wait for the 5 red lights. And a drive-through penalty for Oleski, jump-starting the red lights, and they're off and away. And it looks like Tim Ventic and Logan Ron are side by side. And it looks like Tim Ventic has gotten the better of Logan in this case. And some of these guys may have been confused by Oleski jumping the start. There's a lot of shuffling going on in the back. Somehow Max Mulder has gone from 16th to 11th in the short straightaway. We've got a caution flag waving in Sector 1. That looks like that's going to be Robin Hertestegen, who is around. And he is very slow. Looks like he's got some wing damage on the left front end plate. Tim Ventic scooting away. And look at this, Nick Van Gelder has gone from 8th to 3rd on the start of this race. However, he's got Nicolo Falzarezzi all over the back of him. And Falzarezzi looks like he cut that corner just a little much, trying to get a run out of this chicane. Down the short straightaway into NASCAR. I don't know what that corner's called, but that's what I call it. And it looks like Oleski is going to dive into the pits, serve his penalty. And without DRS, this should be interesting on how some of these guys are going to have to make these passes. Falzarezzi gets a great run coming out of turn 1. All over the gearbox of Van Gelder as they head into this bank-style corner here. And while these two are battling it out, Vincenzo Torri is starting to come into frame as well. And it's going to be a 3-car battle for the 3rd position. We see Max Mulder is gotten past Sandro Dulius. Luke Smith making a move. Oh, and Sandro dropping through the field. What's going on here with Sandro? Oh, and he's getting swallowed up. Looks like he's got some end plate damage on his left front. Yep, he's lost the left front part of his wing. He's getting swallowed up by cars left and right. He's fallen all the way back to 9th at this point. He's got Jesper Lempinen on his inside. So while he's falling through the field, we're going to go back to the battle for 3rd. Oh, and look at this. A little bit of a NASCAR-style bump and run there from Falzarezzi as he gives Nick Van Gelder the chrome horn, moves him out of the way up the track, takes the position away from him. And Tim Ventic sets the fastest lap of this race, and now Falzaresi is starting to pull away from Van Gelder. And Nick Van Gelder finds himself the meat inside of a Alfa Romeo sandwich as he's got Falzaresi out in front of him and Vincenzo Torri behind him. Sandro Dulius dives into the pits from the 9th position. He's going to have to get a front wing change, probably swap over to a new set of intermediates. As we watch Vincenzo Torri now start to work all over the back end of Nick Van Gelder's Red Bull. And Tim Ventic has pulled out a gap over Logan Aron at the top position. It's a 1-second gap right now. DRS is not going to come into play right now under these conditions. Oh, and Van Gelder runs a little wide there at that corner. Vincenzo Torri able to close the gap just a little bit. Nicolo Falzaresi pulling away from this battle now. He is scooted out in front of Van Gelder by 1.2 seconds. We've got a caution flag flying in Sector 2. Looks like that might be Jeremy Pope is struggling here. He's in a 3-car battle with Robin Herderstegen and Brian Power. Brian Power starting to pull away from that. Tim Ventic sets another fastest lap. Van Gelder almost loses the back end coming through the banked corner. That almost set up Vincenzo. Vincenzo struggled a little bit in the wake of Van Gelder's car coming through that corner. Able to close up under braking. So Van Gelder trying to hold on to that 4th position. It would be his best finish of the season so far. Oh, and a big twitch by Vincenzo and Van Gelder. Driving through this very tricky Sector 2. Vincenzo trying to get to the inside. You see how just twitchy these cars are under these conditions. Riding along with Vincenzo, trying to find alternate lines, get some air on the nose, find some grip in the tires. He's about a half a car width difference than Van Gelder's line. I wouldn't say Van Gelder thrives under wet conditions, but Van Gelder has shown in the past he's got some very good car control when it comes to such conditions. And he's able to spread the gap now between himself and Vincenzo to over half a second. Meanwhile, while this battle is going on, Logan Aron has started to close the gap down to Tim Ventic. What was 1.2 seconds is now down to 0.7 of a second as he just ran the fastest lap of this race, and he's gone purple in Sector 1 here on lap 5. And Sandro is saying he needs an invite. Did Sandro get kicked out of the race? I don't know how to invite anybody. Continue to watch this battle as I try to figure out how to get Sandro back into this race. There we go. Game invite set to Sandro. Hopefully that works. Hate to cut from the action like that as I try to figure things out. It's a Haas battle up front. Logan Aron's now got that lead down to half a second between him and his teammate Tim Ventic. No love lost between these two. Wouldn't say they hate each other, but they're not necessarily great teammates. They're out for themselves. Tim Ventic, a former champion. So is Logan Aron. Meanwhile, Nick Van Gelder is still holding on to the 4th position from Vincenzo Torri. Somehow Max Mulder has managed to climb his way into the 6th position, but he's got Jensen Randall all over the back of him. Will pick up the Mercedes battle, and I'm sure Max Mulder is not going to hold up Jensen any more than he has to. Mulder knows he's the slower of the 2 cars. And he's got 2 very fast drivers behind him, Jensen Randall and Luke Smith. And Sandro's saying that he can't join because nobody can send him an invite. I sent him an invite. I'll try it again. Game invite sent. Unless that's a late chat. I mean, it looks like his car has come in. Oh, and Sandra's saying it doesn't work. That's disappointing. Well, Sandra, you're more than welcome to join me in the booth if you want, but I can understand if you don't, given the circumstances. As we see, Jensen Randall now is a part of this battle. He has gotten around Max Mulder, and he's become a part of this battle for the 4th position. This is Nick Van Gelder, Vincenzo Torri, Jensen Randall, and Randall is bringing Max Mulder and Luke Smith with him, so not saying Nick is slow, but he's certainly hard to get around here in this track. Jensen Randall, we're going to hop on board with him. Vincenzo Torri's been trying to find a way around Nick Van Gelder for quite some time now. Hasn't been able to do it. Randall trying to take the outside line, see if he can find some grip back there. A little bit of a gap back to Max Mulder. Jensen thought about it for a second. There's a lane. He's going to try and get to the inside using a lot of the curb. Wheel to wheel with Vincenzo. And Vincenzo, who was on the attack for so long trying to find a way around Nick, finds himself in the defensive as Jensen goes to the inside. Oh, and he makes a little bit of contact with Vincenzo. Crossover move. Jensen trying to get the power down. Max Mulder all over the back of him now. And while this is happening, Nick Van Gelder's been able to scoot out just a little bit. Oh, and they're going to make more contact as they try to go side by side with each other. Vincenzo's going to push him wide. It's now a drag race down the short chute into the NASCAR turn. And Jensen's going to take the inside lane away from him, get the pass done, and now Jensen Randall has worked his way up into the 5th position. Nick Van Gelder's been able to pull out to a gap over Jensen Randall and Vincenzo Torri. The battle for 5th now. Oh, and Max Mulder's going to try and dive to the inside. He makes contact with Vincenzo. That was a little advantageous from Mulder. He was too far back to try and make that work. You see Luke Smith running a very wide outside arc into that corner, trying to find some grip and some speed to get around these 2 cars. See Luke Smith still working on the back end of Max Mulder. Mulder tried to dive to the inside of Vincenzo, and now it's a Luke Smith trying to go wide. There's contact there. Mulder makes contact with Vincenzo. Here comes Luke Smith trying to get the 2-for-1 deal. Couldn't make it work. He does get by Mulder, though. Luke Smith sat there biding his time, and it looks like we've got the... Oh, we've got ourselves a... Is this a virtual safety car or full course? Not sure what that was for. I know Jeremy Pope had an incident. It looks like he righted his car, though. And we're going to have a bunch of cars dive into the pits. Oh, Luke Smith making the pass onto pit road. That is perfectly legal. See a bunch of cars in and a bunch of cars out. This is going to reset the grid a little bit. Now's the chance I'm going to send Sandro another invite. There's got to be a way to get him back into this game. And it is a full course caution. A safety car has been deployed. And Logan Arond has left the session, so he's possibly having an internet issue as well. And that's kind of odd. Logan dives into the pits. He was the leader of this race. We'll try and send Logan a invite. This is getting messy here. Here's Epic the Animal. Invite sent to him. So things getting messy here at Zandvoort. Working lap 10 of 36. Not sure if we're having lobby issues at this point or if it's just a coincidence that Sandro and Logan have both had internet problems. Logan was the leader of this race. He just left the session though, which doesn't make any sense to me. Same thing happened to Sandro. Went into the pits. Apparently the pits is not the place to go. Sandro had to pit because of wing damage. He was involved in a multi-car incident that we didn't catch on camera, but he had gotten left front wing damage, dives into the pits, apparently loses connection. Logan Arond pits under the yellow, full course yellow in the safety car, loses connection. So, starting to possibly see a trend. So hard to say whether or not the invites have worked for Sandro or Logan. I don't have anything in the live chat. Kind of flying blind when it comes to those two. But we'll see how things turn out. We'll pick up Logan. So Logan is behind the safety car. Not sure that Logan's in control of his car. So now that everybody has pitted, things have shooken up a little bit. Logan Arond, currently the leader of this race. Not sure if he's in possession of his car or not. It said he left the session. I have not seen him rejoin. Tim Ventic is in second spot. Cameron Weston Edwards, not sure if he pitted or not. We could probably find that out, though. Cameron Weston Edwards, the only driver to stay out under these conditions. Not sure if that was by design, if he wanted the track position or not, but he is now up into third. Nicolo Falzarezzi is fourth. Jensen Randall is fifth. Nick Van Gelder sixth. Luke Smith in seventh. Vincenzo Torre has fallen back to eighth under the pit sequence. Jesper Lempinen is ninth. And Oleski, who jumped the start, had to serve his drive-through penalty. He's on full wets. That's interesting. I saw a lot of these guys were still on intermediates. Let's take a look at the tire setup. So a lot of these guys have switched over to full wets. Some of them are staying out on intermediates. And Logan Arond saying invite back. I have sent an invite to you, Logan. I will send another. Apparently Sandro and Logan are having similar issues. Game invite sent to Epic the Animal. Let's hope it'll work for him. And it looks like Sandro has calmed down a little bit, says he will join me in the booth. So Sandro has not been able to rejoin this race, and perhaps the same fate is going to happen for Logan Aron. Jeremy Pope is retired from this session, will be credited with a DNF. Not sure what happened with him. Got a lot going on here under the yellow flag. And Felix saying it doesn't look like we're going to see dry tires right now, and I think you're right with everybody switching over to full wets. Not only are the conditions on the track deteriorating, but apparently the race quality itself, as we have now lost Sandro Dulius and Logan Aron to internet issues. I have invited both drivers back. I'm not sure if either one will be able to make it. Sandro, it sounded like he was going to come and join me in the booth, and it looked like we've got Luke Smith switching over to full wets. And Fly High has retired from the session. So things getting really crazy here. And Logan saying EA invites don't work. Well, I'm not really sure how to do it any other way. Look, I'm an old man. I don't know how technology works. It also probably doesn't help that I'm on PS4 and he's on PS5. I can't do anything. I can't do anything to get him back that I know in my power. So this is extremely disappointing. So Logan Aron is the control car, and he apparently does not have possession of his car. And he is going to fall through the... He's going to fall through the grid like a rock, unfortunately. We're back to green flag racing. Tim Ventic's going to dive to the inside. And that is going to be an easy pass for him to make. And this is extremely disappointing for not just Tim Ventic, or not just for Logan Aron, but for Sandro Dulius as well. So everybody's on full wets at this point, with the exception of Cameron Weston Edwards and Max Mulder. So Jensen Randall has gotten around Logan Aron's car. Here comes Nicolo Falzarezzi. And it looks like Luke Smith has retired from the session. He's crashed out. That's uncharacteristic. Apparently an issue in the back as Falzarezzi gets to the inside of Logan Aron's car. Cameron Weston Edwards has fallen back into the 5th position and is in the clutches of Nick Van Gelder. And Nick Van Gelder, he still has Vincenzo Torri all over the back of him. And Cameron Weston Edwards stayed out for the track position. He'll basically get one free spot because of Logan's car. And once again, EA showing that they can't... Now, Felix, the thing is, it's not a restart from Logan. Logan's car is technically AI right now. Logan... Oh, and Van Gelder loses the back end of his car. Manages to save the spot, but as it stands, Sandra saying, well, you shouldn't need an invite to the SRL streaming thing. I guess I can do that. I don't know how that works. We'll wait a hot second here as Van Gelder tries to hang on to his car. Vincenzo Torri all over the back of him still. As I was trying to explain to Felix, yeah, it's a bad restart from Logan or Ron, but Logan is not in possession of his car. He's lost internet connection with the race. We haven't been able to get him back, unfortunately, so the car is under AI control, and that's at about 80%, I would imagine. So Logan is probably going to finish outside of the points at this point, and it's not under his control. It's completely out of his control, as it is with Sandro Duilius as well. So we'll see Vincenzo Torre is a half line wider than Nick Van Gelder. Finally gets to the inside this time. And it's a drag race down the front straightaway. He's going to try and outbrake him, but he's going to run into the back of Logan's car. Whoa, and there's contact. Van Gelder and Vincenzo Torre making contact. And that is just 3 cars into one spot. That was never going to work. And at some point, I must have missed it. Tim Ventic must have pitted. Looks like Tim's pitted and gone back to intermediate tires. So he's now fallen back down into the 10th position. He picks up 9 from Nick Van Gelder. Van Gelder is dropping back. He's now in the 11th spot, as Tim Ventic is all over the back of Vincenzo Torre. He's going to easily get to the inside of him here, and it looks like intermediates are now the way to go. So it rained a little harder for a little while. Tim back out on track, setting some fast times. So we'll take this opportunity, and it looks like Dion Stahl's now getting around Logan's car. There's nothing Logan can do about this. So we'll take this time to try and get Sandro in here with us. And Logan's car has come back down pit road, so good to see that the AI knows enough to switch to intermediates. I don't know if that's going to work out for Logan's car or not. This is really turned into quite a I don't want to say ridiculous, because there has been some good racing, but the circumstances for Logan and Sandro, it just goes to show EA can't make any better of a game than Codemasters ever did. So, Sandro, you're in the booth with us. Very disappointing result, unfortunately. Nothing we can do to fix that?
No, unfortunately not. It's so gutting. It took me like half a race to calm down a bit, to come up here in the booth. It's gutting, because I think my qualifying performance, I was really pleased with my qualifying. It was one of the best qualifying sessions I had in years, I think. I mean, the gap to the 2 leaders was really close, and I was in 3rd place. I was really looking forward to the start, but yeah, I mean, starting with the disconnect, like, stream was still going, still in the party.
Whoa,
so
and Dion Stahl has just crashed out heavy into the barrier. Hate to cut you off, but Dion, as we just picked him up, crashes into the NASCAR corner, and unfortunately that's kind of another kick in the nuts to you as your Ferrari teammate. There will be no points for Ferrari today.
Once again, Dion loses on the corner exit on the curb. It looks like he wasn't easy on the rear tires and hit the inside wall there. Really is due in that corner, and that is a massive blow to Dion Stahl with a 2nd retirement in a row. We see a few cars pitting, and that is Manuel Lito, Alexi, and Nick van der Helder pitting. Yeah, but gutting for Dion Stahl.
So it looks like we'll have another full course caution. Safety car is out, so that'll pack the field back up. But as you said, a lot of cars will dive into the pits, and yeah, I do feel for you. You definitely, as you said, gutted. Never like to see anybody lose out because of an internet problem, and it's odd because your and Logan's instances are extremely similar, if not exactly the same. You had wing damage, you had gone into the pits, and it seemed from there you lost internet from the pit stop on. Logan did the same thing as he went to pit under the safety car. He goes into the pits and loses internet connection, and haven't been able to get him back either. It's odd that it seems that pitting was the catalyst for your internet connections.
Yeah, I don't know actually. I don't know when the message popped up for you guys, but like I disconnected right after the qualifying session, so I never made the start really.
Well, your car was doing really well.
Yeah. I mean, I qualified P3 and I was looking forward to the race start, but then right after the qualifying session ended, I just disconnected. And we see the leader, Jensen Randall, pitting.
And
not coming out.
Cameron Weston Edwards is staying out again.
I mean, I think at some point we have to really talk about Cam Weston Edwards. I mean, he still hasn't made a pit stop, but he is just a reserve driver this season. I know he's limited on practice because of his time, but he's coming out here and is being competitive, and now he's at the moment the leader of this race.
Well, he didn't pit the first time either, ended up restarting third. He's going to stay out again, and this might benefit him this time because under the first safety car, a lot of guys came in, switched over to full wets as the track was deteriorating. As that run went on, track came back, a lot of guys were pitting to switch back to intermediates. Cameron never made the switch either way, so he's still on intermediates, though they're going to be vastly worn in comparison to the new tires.
Yeah, he must be struggling with tire wear at this point, but theoretically he can take those tires to the end, because remember, you don't have to use 2 sets of compounds as we're in the wet, so he could theoretically go to the end without a pit stop.
And we've got Jesper Lempinen has now worked his way into the third position. Tim Ventic, who switched over to the intermediates right before the safety car, was making his way back up through the field. Nicolo Falzaresi is going to be behind him in fifth. Oleski, who's been up and down all day, crashed in qualifying, had to retire early, got knocked down to ninth. Then he jumped the start, had to serve a pit stop penalty. Now working his way back up into sixth. Logan's car still technically in the points, even though he doesn't seem to have possession of the car. Vincenzo Torri in 8th, Van Gelder is 9th, and Robin Herterstegen is 10th. That's going to round out the top 10 points-paying positions.
Yeah, I have to say I highly doubt that Logan Allround will be able to rejoin the lobby, as it seems like the lobby invites only work through the host. And as I was kicked out of the session as well, we're not sure who the host really is. So, yeah, rejoin the session. Seemingly doesn't really work, so that is a tough blow for Logan Allround, who was looking to, yeah, yet another win. But right now it's not looking good for his championship gap, which could come down with obviously Alexi, Paul Bonami, and Tim Ventic scoring well, as we see Vincenzo Torre just disconnected off the session.
So at this point, there's the possibility of having a migrating host, which we know in the past has been an issue with some of these things. And Logan says PSN invites work. I don't know how to do a PSN invite.
They don't work because it needs to be the host of the session. The pop-up message on the bottom of the screen was so quick that we actually didn't catch Manuel Lito. Nicolo Falzaresi, currently running P5, also disconnected. So both Alfa Romeos, both Italians, disconnected at the exact same time. So that might be an issue, a regional issue with Italy, maybe. Like a region-wide internet issue, possibly. That might explain that, but yeah.
Well, I mean, at a certain point, not to put you on the spot, but now we're looking at you, Logan, Vincenzo, Nicolo. I mean, is it a possibility that it's a lobby issue at this point? Could we run a 15, 16 lap shootout or a 25% race to finish off the round and get everybody back into the race that hasn't crashed out?
I think we have a 25% rule that has existed for basically the entirety of SRL League racing, and that means if more than 25% of the lobby disconnect, the race is rerun. But right now we are at, I think it's 4 or 5, so we're not there yet. If this continues, this issue though, we may as well be looking at a rerun, possibly. But for now we'll just concentrate on this race, as this is still the valid race.
Fair enough. Now that would be, and Brian Power has left the session. Well, Brian DNF, so he doesn't count.
Yeah.
Basically, we would need one more driver to disconnect at this point. Since there's 13, 25% would have to be at least 5. And that's if we count you, Logan, Nicolo, and Vincenzo, so...
Picking up again on Brian Power, I think we missed Brian Power crashing under safety car, because he was unlapping himself like 2 laps ago, tried to catch back up to the queue, and while doing that he was obviously pushing. I think he bit it into the wall.
That's a good point, and I hate to say it, I'm so used to Brian not finishing a race, I probably oversaw that. That's a terrible thing to say. I like Brian as a person, but his racecraft he could use a little bit more honing in on. So, Racing Champion TV says invite please.
Yeah, this is Vincenzo also trying to get an invite, but those don't work, so let's concentrate on the restart for now with Cameron Weston Edwards as the control car.
Well, that's probably not going to last long. He's got Jensen Randall right behind him, and as much as I like Cameron, Jensen is King Supreme, easily going to get by him. But remember, no passing before the start-finish line. And Cameron really backing everybody up to the start-finish line. Goes back green, gets a good jump. Caution flag waving already in Sector 3. And Jensen Randall all over the gearbox of Cameron Weston Edwards. But honestly, a track like this, these conditions, this is kind of where Cameron would probably thrive in something like this. We know Cameron's already hard to get around under regular conditions. Now we've got a narrow track, no DRS. Jensen's got his work cut out for him a little bit.
And this is something Cameron Weston Edwards lives for, fighting for the lead, defending from a 2-time world champion with Jensen Randall right on his rear end.
And he's going to make Jensen work hard, trying to go to the outside. Now remember, Jensen's on fresher intermediates. Cameron's trying to push him wide, but Jensen's going to have the line going into the next corner. Crossover move by Cameron, almost swiped the car. Oh, and around goes Jesper Lempinen. That's going to cause a bottleneck there. Jesper is going to drop all the way through the field.
I think he had some contact with the rear end of Tim Venting there, just losing the back end, and he's dropping all the way down out of the point positions.
Max Mulder taking the position away from Logan Aron's car, which has gone AI, as we know. So Cameron loses out on the lead. He's now got Tim Ventic behind him, another former champion. And look at this, all the way down to the pit wall, Cameron Weston Edwards. Great defensive driving from Cameron. Tim's going to try and do a crossover move. It's not going to work there. He's going to run wide coming out of turn 1.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant racing there and defending from Cameron Weston Edwards.
And Tim's going to try and dive bomb him. Oh, and he gives him a little bit of a shoulder check there. Once, not twice, maybe 3 times. So great defensive driving from Cameron Weston Edwards. He's going to lose out on the position to fresher tires once again, and that is.
Yeah, I think he had to yield there a little bit, because going into that bank corner, I think he lost the rear end a little bit on those old worn tires, and that gave Tim Ventic the opportunity to dive down the inside of him.
And now Oleski is going to be next coming through the field as he sets his sights on Cameron Weston Edwards for the 3rd and final podium position. So now the question becomes, does Tim Ventic have the speed and the time to catch Jensen Randall, as Tim Ventic is going purple in Sector 2, closing the gap down to 1.4 seconds. And Tim and Jensen, did these two ever actually race each other?
Yes, they did in Season 6 for a couple of races, but no, never really have raced each other, so they don't know each other's specialities in going wheel to wheel. So this will be interesting to see how these two react to each other's driving styles, if Tim Ventic can get there.
And Tim is now down to 1.2 seconds, so you've got a 2-time champion being pursued by a 1-time champion. Coincidentally enough, Tim's always shown the speed that he could have definitely backed up his championship for sure. But he kind of dropped out from full-time SRL racing after his championship run. But he's given it another go this year. Slides the back end coming out of that corner. No DRS, but he is now down to within a second as we see Jesper Lempinen making a move on Nicolo Falzarezzi. And we'll try to pick that up because it looks like they're side by side. And this is Falzarezzi and Jesper Lempinen, and this is actually a 3-car battle. Well, I shouldn't say that. Logan Aron's car is back there in 9th. And Tim Ventic just sent the fastest lap, 1:19.836. He's now within 9/10 of a second of Jensen Randall as we watch this battle. And look at Robert Herterstegen trying to go around the outside of Logan Aron's car. And he's going to go side by side with the AI. And we see Herterstegen will make that move coming out of turn 1. So AI's what, 80, 85%?
Yeah, it's on 70%, just in case AI gets into the way and possibly is too quick, basically. So we always use 70 as as the setting. We see Tim Ventic keeps closing down the gap on Jensen Randall, which is interesting because Tim Ventic has older tires than Jensen Randall. It's only 3 laps, but still. He is closing down that gap ever so slightly every single lap, about 3/10, and it's now down to just 8/10 of a second.
And we're going to pick up the battle here with Oleski and Cameron Weston Edwards.
Oh, Robin just went into the wall in the middle sector, caught a little bit of oversteer and hit the outside wall and got some front wing damage now.
And Jensen Randall and Tim Ventic just swapped fastest laps. Jensen went fastest, and then right behind him, Tim went fastest. Cameron Weston Edwards defending mightily once again against Oleski, all the way down to the pit wall in the front straightaway. Really making these guys earn these podium positions from him. And down into the first banked corner, he's got a little bit of a separation there between Oleski, but he's starting to hold up Oleski, and it looks like Max Mulder is starting to come into frame as well, so it's going to be a 3-car battle for the final podium spot. Mulder actually doing a very good job racing, considering he was atrocious in the qualifying session.
Yeah, he's coming off a big collision with Luke Smith earlier, which caused the second safety car. I saw on onboard, and it seems like Luke Smith and Max Mulder came together in the middle sector, the fast middle sector. And yeah, Cameron Weston Edwards looking to defend his podium spot, which will be super tough on these 26-lap old tires.
10 laps to go. I don't think Cameron is going to hold out. I love Cameron's mentality. He is such a race car driver through and through. He is going to race you just as hard for first as he is last. He's going to race you just as hard on the first lap as he is the last lap. Cameron just doesn't like to be passed. As we see Jensen Randall sets the fastest lap as he tries to pull a gap out on Tim Ventic. That's now up to 1.3 seconds.
It seems like the gap has kind of stabilized again by like just over a second between Randall and Ventic.
And Cameron still holding off Oleski for this 3rd position. Max Mulder is now definitely a part of this battle. Is now 3-car battle for 3rd. Robin Herterstegen making a pass on Nicolo Falzarezzi for the 8th position. And it is official, Logan Aron's car is now officially outside of the points, which is very unfortunate for him. He will still be the championship points leader after this race regardless. But still, you got to admit, though, the only times Logan hasn't put points on the board this season are basically under conditions that are not of his fault. And your Marusic has crashed out now.
That's very unfortunate to see on Euro's return as a full-time driver.
And it looks like we're going to have ourselves another safety car. So this is ironic. That puts Logan's car back into the points, and your car now has an outside shot of getting a point, as it'll be qualified as 11.
Yes, my car, as I never really started the race, my car counts as it did not start, therefore being last.
Okay, so even if it does finish in the points, it will be basically disqualified.
Exactly. Taking a look back here on the crash between Juro Marusic and actually was Manuel Lito and Nicolo Falzarezzi. They went side by side through the middle sector, the fast uphill section, made contact, the cars got glued together and both went into the wall. That was a big, massive crash, so understandably we are under safety car again.
So I just picked up Jensen Randall as he came out of the pits on super softs. Or I guess they're just softs these days. On the red banded tire. Lost it coming out of the pits and slid across the track. He didn't hit anything, but he's gone from first to third as Max Mulder and Tim Ventic. Max has stayed out on the intermediates. Tim Ventic was able to make the pass coming out of the pits because he didn't lose the car.
This is really interesting because this, I would kind of take... I mean, Max Mulder probably tries to go to the end on these inters. It's not dry yet because the drivers haven't gotten the sign of the DRS being activated again. So it's not really dry conditions yet, but these two drivers, Tim Ventic and Jensen Renault and Cam West-Edwards as well, they are gambling on it being dry when we got the restart. The thing is, Jensen Renault made this mistake coming out of the pits and he's now lost out to Tim Ventic. So if Max Mulder gets overtaken at some point, which I imagine he will, Tim Ventic is our leader basically of the race. So this is a very costly mistake from the two-time champion Jensen Randall. Rare to see.
And I'm riding along with Jensen, and he struggled again, almost lost the back end on another corner. And Jensen's going to say, no, I'm not ready for this. He's diving back into the pits. Is he going to switch back to intermediates? He is. Jensen Randall is switching back to intermediates plus. Oh, it looks like he did get part of the wall, getting a wing change.
He's getting a wing change, so yeah, he definitely must have gotten damage, but it's interesting that he goes back to intermediates. He did a lap on super softs, but he decided, no, this is too early, and goes secure and goes back onto the intermediate tires, but this is going to drop him way down. So a super costly mistake from Jensen Randall on that pit lane exit.
And this... Okay, so Cameron Weston-Edwards has now officially made a stop and has put on soft tires. He's now in the third position.
This is an unbelievable strategy by Cam Weston-Edwards. This gets my vote for strategy of the season so far. Like, what an incredible strategy by Weston-Edwards, going 27 laps on intermediates until it's dry and puts on the super softs for a final 7-lap dash, and he's in third. Beautiful, absolutely amazing.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's only a good strategy if it pans out. If the track's still too wet, he could bin it into the wall under the restart, and we'd be having a very different conversation about strategy. Oleski is up to fourth. I find it ironic that Logan's car is in fifth position. Now, does Logan still get credit for points if his car finishes in the points?
He doesn't, as he did not complete 50% of the race, so he will be credited with a DNC disconnect.
Well, that's disappointing. So Max Mulder becomes the control car as the safety car comes in, and we're going to have ourselves a 7-lap shootout here towards the end of this race. Intermediates for Max Mulder. Tim Ventic, I got a feeling, is going to make quick work of that. Back to green flag racing. Don't pass before the start-finish line, everybody. And Cameron Weston-Edwards giving a go here at Tim Ventic. Ventic's going to have to defend to the inside. He's going to push Cameron wide coming out of the corner. Good restart by Max Mulder, though, to pull away. And I don't think it's just dry enough yet for those softs to come in.
Yeah, the soft tire runners are struggling right now, so Max Mulder will try to build a gap on these drivers, because at some point it will be time for the dry tires, and then it will be interesting to see how far down Max Mulder drops, if he even loses the position, because right now he's already 3 seconds ahead.
We've got Sam Brandt on the live chat. Always good to see Sam once again. He's missing what's been a very entertaining race, but very glitchy one nonetheless. A lot of odd circumstances as Cameron is holding on to that third position. Tim is now 3 seconds off of Max Mulder. Mulder has pulled out that gap.
Jensen Randall on the Inters is slicing through the grid. He's already battling for P4 again.
He's just gotten around Logan Aron's AI car. He's up into the 4th spot, and he's going to set his sights on Cameron Weston-Edwards. And wow, whoa, big twitch there from... And he's going to end up almost slices the back end of the car off of Cameron's McLaren. So he gets a good run. Looks like intermediates are the way to go right now. How long before the softs come in is going to be the question. Jensen Randall up into third. Nick Van Gelder making a move on Vincenzo Torri to take over the 7th position.
The question is, how quick does it dry out? Is it enough time for the soft tire runners to regain their advantage? Because right now they are losing out.
We see the battle here between Nick Van Gelder and Vincenzo Torri. These two have been fighting each other just about all race. They can't seem to separate from one another. Vincenzo's probably going to be tired of looking at the back of a Red Bull all race. Robin Herterstegen trying to be a part of this battle. And Vincenzo now falling into the clutches of Robin Herterstegen for the 8th position. Meanwhile, Jesper Lempinen behind him, bringing up the rear.
I'm keeping an eye on the gap between the two leaders, and it seems like the gap is coming down between Tim Ventic and Max Moller, so it looks like it's starting to get a little too dry for the intermediate tires. And look at the gap, it's coming down every single corner, so Tim Ventic catching up big time on Max Mulder.
And Jensen just ran the fastest lap of this race, 3 seconds faster than any other fastest lap at a 1:16.775. So the track's starting to dry out. We're getting down to qualifying times. And it looks like Nick has managed to... Vincenzo's lost a couple of spots. Vincenzo went from 7th down to 9th. We ride along with Oleski as he's still trying to find a way around Cameron Weston Edwards for the 4th position. Gets a good run through the corner. He's going to try and dive to the inside, which will become the outside.
Look at the gap between the leaders. It's down to under a second.
We're going to switch to that. Here comes Tim Ventic. They're side by side as Ventic gets a good run coming out of the corner. The intermediates are going to be fried at this point. Mulder trying to hold him off, but he's not going to be able to do it for very long. You're easily going to lose out to this battle.
DOS is activated, so an advantage for Tim Ventic on the front straight.
He's going to be able to make easy work of Max Mulder as they come down the front straightaway. Mulder almost gets pushed wide into the wall. And now the real battle becomes between Tim Ventic and Jensen Randall. Can Jensen get by Mulder? And I'm sure Max is not going to hold up Jensen at this point. Former teammates. Max knows he's not the faster of the two.
I wouldn't be too sure, because this is Max Mulder's home race, and we know how aggressive Max Mulder is. I think he will be fighting for every single spot here, even though that his tires are shot at this point.
Whoa, big move by Jensen Randall. Coincidentally, Jensen is still on intermediates.
And he's making them work, which is really interesting to see, because Max Mulder is struggling a lot.
Well, he's only got 4 laps on those intermediates. He did try those softs under the safety car and decided that wasn't a good idea, so it worked out so far, but I don't think he's going to make much headway. 3 seconds back from Tim Ventic. What we have now, Oleski has finally gotten around Cameron Weston Edwards for the 4th position, but now these two are closing in on Max Mulder, so here goes Oleski to the inside. Side by side down the front straightaway. Mulder's car looks like it might be a little bit more trimmed out than Oleski's. Able to stay out in front of him. And Cameron's able to catch up under braking. And Edwards going to try and dive in. He's going to find a little bit of grip on that outside line as he comes out of the first banked corner. He's going to easily take over the 4th position. Mulder falls back into 5th.
Yeah, Mulder just hanging on for dear life right now. I mean, it was worth the strategy call. It almost worked out, but 3 laps before the end, the track is just too dry for intermediate tires.
And now at this point, well, Oleski has caught Jensen Randall, so Jensen's tires are now fried at this point. Cameron Weston Edwards is looking at a podium finish. So, like you said, strategy of the season. This is panning out for Cameron Weston Edwards so far. I don't think As good of a driver as Jensen is, he's not going to be able to hold off Oleski and Cameron Weston-Edwards under these conditions. Worn out intermediates, completely dry track. Oleski down to the inside. He's going to easily make that move heading into turn 1. Cameron Weston-Edwards is going to have another lap or 2 to give it a shot. And there goes Cameron. Again, he's going to work the outside. He's found grip on the outside of this banked corner a couple times. And look at the crossover move by Cameron. Great power move, making those softs work. And he is now taking over the 3rd position from Jensen Randall.
What a drive. Fantastic driving by Cameron Weston-Edwards. Obviously, Jensen Randall has a disadvantage, but you got to keep your nerves. Make that move with almost under 2 laps to go, and Cameron Weston-Edwards now in a podium position.
What a crazy race this has turned out to be. We see Jesper Lempinen is now all over the back of Max Mulder. And here comes Jesper. He's going to go around the outside. Oh, Max drives him into the gravel. Jesper comes back, gives him a little bit of a shoulder check. And Max is probably extremely frustrated at this point. He's just losing gobs of time to these drivers. Nick Van Gelder is going to be the next one on the list. So we'll see if the Season 4 champion can make up 2.5 seconds in a lap to get a position from Max Mulder. He's going to have to run a qualifying lap if he wants to try and get that position. Comes out of turn 1. He's got his sights set on him. Cut that time in half.
Got to keep an eye on Tim Ventic as well, who is on this final lap now, coming through the middle sector at the moment. Approaching a home win for the Dutchman.
And Tim Ventic coming out of the NASCAR turn down the front straightaway. Home win for the Dutchman.
Fantastic drive. First win since June 2020 for the Season 5 champion.
And we're going to pick up the battle for 6. Nick Van Gelder still trying to find a way around Max Mulder. Dives to the inside. He's using all the curve, and he's going to get tapped. And around goes Nick. And he's going to back it into the gravel. Get out of the way. Whoa! Almost. Oh, no! And he takes out... Well, he takes out a Ferrari. That's your car. You're not in it. From bad to worse.
I mean, did not start anyway, but that is gutting for Nick Verdelder, who was looking at a decent point stay there for P7, possibly even P6, and now he's end up with 1 point, P10. Tough luck.
Now, does he get a couple of positions because you and Logan don't technically get those points?
Yeah, because of the disconnects, he got 2 disconnects in front, so he's gonna move up to P8, but still, that is maybe not the best move Nick has ever made in his career. Let's put it like that.
So Jensen Randall gets the credit for driver of the day through the game, but my driver of the day is definitely going to be Cameron Weston-Edwards. What a strategy.
Absolutely.
Ends up on the podium. That is what we like to see. A veteran like himself. I don't think anybody drives harder than Cameron for no good reason other than he just wants to go fast. He is the Ricky Bobby of SRL. So it's not Logan Aron, but it is a Haas on the top step of the podium. Tim Ventic with a win. He'll close the championship points gap down to his teammate. Logan will still be credited with the championship points lead after all of this. So here are your unofficial results. Tim Ventic with the win. Oleski is coming in second. Cameron Weston-Edwards third. Jensen Randall on his return is fourth. Jesper Lempinen fifth. Max Mulder struggles to stay in sixth. Let's see. Logan and Vincenzo are both out. So Robin Herderstagen will unofficially get seventh. Nick will get 8th, and those are only going to be the only points-paying positions. Everybody else was a disconnect, did not start, or did not finish for the rest of the field. That is quite an adventurous race here at Zandvoort. What a day.
I mean, yeah, we had a lot of adversity, obviously, with 4 disconnects, obviously disconnect from the leader Logan Allround, which was really unfortunate, but overall, a fantastic Grand Prix with a great result. Tim Ventic, it had been 2.5 years since the champion has won, and now he wins on home soil, and Cameron West there has a brilliant podium, has a fantastic strategy as well. Just a really, really good race.
I'm sure there will be much discussion from the drivers who did not get to finish and did not be able to get back into the race. Things that we'll possibly look at moving forward, possible ways to get drivers back into the race, or... I mean, I know you had brought up the 25% rule. Is there any other things that we can adjust to try and get them back into the race, or is it just a default of the game? It just doesn't work.
Apparently, I mean, we haven't changed the settings of the lobby in years, and drivers were always able to get back into the session. This was never an issue. This is a new issue that has occurred today, and if I follow what Logan said, apparently they changed it that if we have a lobby obviously on invites only, if it's on invites only, you're only able to join through invites from the new host. In this case, we obviously didn't know who the new host was, which is always randomized by the game because I was obviously kicked out. So it was basically impossible for drivers outside of the race to get back in. So for next race, we will have to set the lobby onto friends only, which is a change that we have to react to for obviously the events today, but something we didn't know before, which is interesting. An interesting change by EA. I can't say I support what they did, but it is what it is, I guess.
And you do bring up a good point, because in years past under Codemasters, even if it was invite only, if you were already a part of that lobby, you could get back in. Now it is, you need an invite from the host, and as you said, because you were the host, you got disconnected yourself, and now becomes migrating. We don't know who it is. So unfortunate turn of events today, and Logan is not the only one that suffered from it. It was also you. It was also Vincenzo. So it is what it is, unfortunately, but an unbelievable race. And we look forward to next round, which is, I take it, next week, right?
No, next week we're having an off week for now. We will be back on... Give me a short second to pull up the calendar. My notes out here. There we go. Yeah, we will be back with the Spanish Grand Prix on December 10th. So next week is an off week. You can still watch SRL content as we will upload the race recap from all the action today with specific onboards from the drivers, so you can see all the action that went on. We're obviously doing our best job to get everything on the live stream, but obviously sometimes you miss some action with 17 cars on the grid. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But we will be back with live action at Spain on the 10th of December.
And I am just one man. I try to get as much as I can.
Exactly. I think you're doing a good job at that, so don't worry.
So this has been round 7 of SRL, and while there are many SRL racing leagues, there's only one Sandro Racing League. I am KAMIKAZE-FOX. This is Sandro Julius. We will see you guys at the next round.